India's moon dream not over yet. Lander Vikram spotted on moon. ISRO lost contact but not hope. Moon orbiter holds the key. Can India wake up Lander Vikram? Indian Space Research Organization to bounce back after hard landing. A billion prayers for moon mission.
It's been 70 hours and millions across India, you perhaps, me certainly, have been wondering, where is Vikram? What happened to the lander? And why has it been so stubbornly silent? And more importantly of all, can it be woken up? A day after spotting the lander on the lunar surface, ISRO's fight for Chandrayaan 2's Vikram lander continues, with ISRO continuing to make an all-out effort to establish a communication link with the Vikram lander, which went silent, as you remember, on the early morning of Saturday, which is 2.1 kilometers above the moon's surface. The dream that it might wake up remains alive. Sources within the space organization tell India Today that the orbiter that is still in orbit around the moon is continuously pinging the Vikram lander. ISRO is analyzing thermal images of Vikram and will further attempt more detailed pictures, perhaps by lowering the orbiter's altitude in the days to come. Global space agencies might also help fix the nature of Vikram's injuries. The communication established, but ISRO remains hopeful. Take a look at this report.
A major breakthrough for Indian Space Research Organization after losing contact with lander Vikram during moon landing. The ISRO orbiter has located Vikram, the lander, after scanning through the lunar surface via its thermal camera. It also confirms that India has been the fourth country to reach the moon, despite the apparent hard landing by Vikram. The breakthrough was reported by India Today, 45 minutes before all channels.
It's been a big breakthrough for the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, as lander Vikram has been located.
ISRO Chief K. Sivan also confirmed tracing of lander in an exclusive interaction with India Today.
Sir, has ISRO managed to find the exact location of the lander, sir?
Lander we could locate, that is the exact location and all we are not finding it on.
But you have located the lander where it is on the moon.
From the orbiter we could locate.
Sir, and has the orbiter clicked any photographs of the Vikram lander as of now?
No, that is, it's as a general, not a clicking photo, it is like as an image we have seen that one.
It's a thermal image or something, sir?
Yes, yes, it is a normal thing, it's nothing great.
Oh, it's a normal image.
Yes, yes, yes.
According to the sources in ISRO, the space agency will now try to re-establish the contact with lander Vikram in next 14 days. The ISRO will probe the factors that led to the loss of communication with the lander, which was carrying a rover named Pragyan.
पहली बात तो यह है कि उसका ओरिएंटेशन क्या है, वो कैसे पड़ा हुआ है, आखिरी वक्त में उसका क्या हाल था। दूसरी बात ये पता लगेगी कि वो कितने इम्पैक्ट के साथ टकराया था, और तीसरी बात ये पता लगेगी कि उसकी जो सोलर पैनल्स हैं वो क्या सूरज की तरफ हैं पूरी तरह से या नहीं। कम्युनिकेशन बहुत मुश्किल काम है, इसीलिए मैं कोई उम्मीद नहीं दिलाना चाहता देशवासियों को कि शायद अगर होता है तो एक चमत्कार होगा।
Mission which was supposed to be for 14 days will end. Mean to say that its battery and all other things will die out after 14 days. So if communication is established, it will be established in 14 days, not after that. So we have only 14 days to establish the connection.
With support from Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the country, ISRO is hopeful of pursuing its lunar mission at an even bigger scale.
The Vikram lander was bound to be discovered by the orbiter. Now, ISRO has its work cut out in trying to re-establish communication with the lander. But with more than 1 billion Indians praying and the ISRO spirit still alive, a miracle is always possible. This is Nolan Pinto for India Today, along with Vijay Madhuwar.
So here are the big questions that we're asking at this time, because these are questions that are on everyone's mind and have been for the last 70 hours, that we've been wondering what has happened to Vikram. The main question, what is the condition of the Vikram lander? Question number 2, is the blackout due to damage to Vikram or its orientation as a result of landing in an awkward position, or is it both, damaged as well as an awkward position? Question number 3, does the orbiter image of the Vikram lander reveal integrity issues or damage of any kind? Does it actually reveal that or does it not? Question number 4, could the Vikram lander become responsive in the days ahead in a different moon position? Could there somehow be some new alignment which will somehow wake it up? Question number 5, will ISRO seek assistance from other space agencies like NASA or the European Space Agency? Could they have any technology, any methods of any kind that could perhaps find a way to test whether Vikram can be woken up? Is really the list of big questions we're asking. I want to go first across to India Today's Nolan Pinto, who's been at ISRO for since the beginning of this entire mission and this program. Nolan, I know it's been 70 hours since the Vikram lander went dark and silent, and I also know that an effort is still very much on, clinging on to a shred of hope that something might work out and Vikram might wake up. What are you hearing from ISRO? Are they hopeful or are they just going through the procedures because they have to? Have they already feared the worst?
Well, Shiv, it'll be nothing short of a miracle if something actually takes place. That is, if the lander's ramp opens and the rover comes out, it will be like watching a Hollywood movie. But seriously speaking, most of the ISRO scientists that we have spoken to say that chances are, well, very, 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 very bleak. What they're actually trying to do now, yes, there is a team that is working on trying to re-establish communication link between the orbiter and the lander. But the rest of the ISRO scientists or the staff over there are actually working on what really went wrong, because this is what they want to know, because the Israelis also suffered the same fate.
Yes.
ISRO, ISRO also suffered the same fate. What we're told is that they're now working on, once they get their data, once they analyze their data, both the Israelis as well as ISRO will now sit together and then figure out what went wrong at the nth moment, because that is where both of them failed.
Yes.
And that is where is the best option for them to figure out what can be done so that other missions can be successful.
Okay, so will India and Israel collaborate to find an answer to the reason of why both their lunar landers actually failed? Is there a commonality? Is it a joint answer, or is it two separate things? And more importantly, can the Vikram lander actually be woken up? Is there a miracle lying somewhere in wait over the next few days? Nolan, thank you very much for that. You've seen the big questions we're asking. Let's put it to the experts, because we can ask the questions, but it is for the experts from ISRO and otherwise to actually give us their wisdom on this. Joining me live on To The Point this evening, Professor R.C. Kapoor, he's an astrophysicist. Yashwant Gupta is Director for the National Center for Radio Astrophysics, and Dr. J.J. Raval is also a well-known astrophysicist. Welcome, gentlemen. The question, facing us this evening is about the Vikram lander. And, I don't want this to be an emotional question, because this is, after all, scientific pursuit. And, if the Vikram lander never wakes up, that will be the conclusion of that aspect of the Chandrayaan 2 mission. But Professor Kapoor, in your expert view, is there a chance that the Vikram will respond, or do you fear the worst, sir?
There is a very small chance.
It may be that once again contact may be established.
That is for Professor Kapoor, sir. Yeah.
So even if the contact is established, there is a problem, because it has fallen speedily, because the telemetry data is available until 335 meters height. After that, what happened, and possibly the orientation also has been the question whether it was oriented properly.
Yes.
So it's like maybe you are used to falling from first floor. Here the thing happened from the third floor. So obviously that kind of picture we can keep in mind. So even if there is a revival of communication, that will by itself be a miracle. Then we don't know in what condition its instruments are. On the face of it, the lander is looking possibly in its original shape, but because of that fall, we don't know what has happened. And only after the communication is established, we will know whether the instruments are functional or not. And another thing is its orientation as it is lying on the surface of the moon, because the antenna has to either face towards the a direction where the orbiter will be passing over, or it should be in the direction of the Earth, so that maybe some communication is materializing.
Okay.
So that I think is
okay. So you're saying that even if communication is established, which is just the first step, that in itself would be a miracle. Yashwant Gupta, can you throw some light on how difficult the next few days are going to be? What will ISRO be doing right now in an effort to, eliminate all possibilities of reviving Vikram? What is it? What is that work looking like?
So actually the next few days are, I'm afraid, going to be difficult because there is no idea as to what exactly has failed, and it's really crucial as to what would have failed. That was what would decide whatever are the faint possibilities of recovery.
Yes.
So for example, if it is some part of the electronics which controls the communication that has failed, then often these spacecrafts have backup electronics, and as long as the power is there, you may be able to switch it to the backup electronics, and usually the control system would allow that.
Yes.
But if, for example, the antenna, and I'm not sure if they, because the antenna is a mechanical piece on the orbit, on the lander, if the antenna is damaged, then there may not be a spare, in which case it may not be able to communicate. If it has fallen in the wrong angle and the antenna is pointing downwards, for example, then there is very little hope, because there is no way sitting from here that you can change the orientation of Vikram once it has landed there. So really the things look very dim, because if it were to have worked, it should have responded by now. So yes, ISRO would still like to go through various steps, but it is a bit like saying that, if you reach a crash site 2 days later and then you expect, is there still something, is there still some survivors? It becomes harder and harder.
No, that's very interesting. You're saying that the hopes are dim. It could be an electronic reason, it could be a mechanical reason, and it's already been, like we're saying, it's already been 70 hours since the fact, since the incident, since the, the lander went dark. It's been 70 hours. Dr. Raval, given that the chances of a miracle are already so slight, what are you expecting to see happen over the next few days? Because time is running out. The 14-day mission duration means, already 2 or 3 days have gone by. So the ISRO doesn't have very long to establish whether the Vikram can be rescued or not.
Hello.
Okay, I'll get back to Dr. Raval in just a moment, but if I could put that question to Professor Kapoor in that case, that the next few days, provides a very small time window for ISRO to do whatever it possibly can.
See, it's already 70 hours, which means 3 days are already lost. And the sun will set sometime on 21st September, and that is the equinox day, and we have only 11 days available, and with each day the window is getting smaller. There is another problem. The orbiter's orbital plane is fixed in space, whereas as the moon is progressing in its orbit, So for the orbiter, the moon is rotating. So obviously, the longitude is increasing at the rate of say about a little over 12 degrees per day. So already in 3 days, 36 degrees it's off. So when the orbiter goes around the moon, it's going in once in 2 hours, but it's getting increasingly more distant from the let's say the landing site. So that is another thing, and I'm sure those people who track satellites have a better vision in these things, and this is what I am in a position to say.
Okay.
But even if suppose there is a communication established, and suppose even if one instrument responds, so even if there is 1 day available, I think we have made it. So let's, as an optimistic person, I'll say like that.
No, because millions of people are clinging on to that shred of hope, Professor Kapoor. I hear you. I hear you, and I think anybody watching India Today this evening will take a great deal of heart in the words that you've said right now. As an optimist, even if 1 day is left and if communication is established, that is still good news. Yashwant Gupta, agencies like NASA and the European Space Agency, which have more experience and more instruments and more resources, also in space, including all kinds of telescopes, and you would know better the kind of instrumentation that they would have. Could these agencies be enlisted? Could their help be sought, or would they offer their help? I'm not saying in reviving Vikram, but finding some answers as to what went wrong. Can they do that?
So it is an interesting possibility that they may be able to provide some help from their experiences. So for example, I know when I was involved in one of the experiments where the European Space Agency had a mission to Mars,
yes,
the ExoMars 3 years ago, which suffered a similar fate. While descending to the planet of Mars, it made the journey for the first 7 out of the 8 minutes of terror, and then we lost the signal and it crashed. And they carried out a detailed analysis, and they were able to establish which part of the firing sequence of the thruster rockets did not work properly. And so there are these agencies which have the experience, but ISRO would need to share the data that they have got up to the last moment from Vikram with these agencies, and be able to work with them, and there may be some extra light that they may be able to share. Though of course these circumstances for each such experiment are very peculiar, they're very specific, and so it may or may not be something that the other agencies with their past experience may be able to give some insight. But I think this should certainly be explored, because there will be lots of useful data that ISRO would have got up to the last moment when they lost contact, and there would be a wealth of analysis that ISRO scientists themselves would be doing. But it should be possible for them to reach out to some of these, especially both ESA and NASA, which have had both failures and successes in their similar missions.
Is it possible, going back to Professor Kapoor, is it possible, sir, that, I know this is a hypothetical question and there is still time ahead to figure out what went wrong possibly, but is it possible, considering that the Chandrayaan 2 mission in many ways was reaching into the dark, India had never done this before, South Pole, the mechanics of the soft landing on the moon is something India had never attempted before. Is it possible, sir, that at the end of these 14 days we may not have an answer also? Is that also a possibility?
That looks like it, because although ISRO is working at it, and we have not yet known what they have actually, whatever conclusion they may have come to as of now. But I also feel that if there are pictures, some of them can be made public, because at the moment, the whole country has turned into citizen scientists. We are all guessing and speculating. So at least give us the coordinates where that point is. And the other thing is that, see, the lander may be lying on its side, it's tilted, but it also carries on its body the retro reflectors. If any of them is surviving, and obviously it's a passive experiment, so they don't need any battery. So what NASA through its Goddard Center has this laser beams they may have directed at it, and if they have got any signals, so that should also come to our knowledge.
Dr. Raval,
And,
final word from you.
after
Thanks for,
14 days,
happy to have you back. I think we lost that line for a moment. Your word on this, Dr. Raval. Do you believe that in the next 12 days, some kind of miracle is possible with the Vikram lander?
Yes, I believe that, and I firmly believe that. And because retroreflector is there, it may give us some clue, some information how it went wrong.
Okay, so you are optimistic as well. I'm glad to have the three of you gentlemen on board on this show today. And I think that's a nice note to wrap this up, that even though hopes are dim, even though the chances are very slight, there is still the possibility. Until that chance becomes zero, there is still a chance of something actually happening. Let's wait and hope. Let's wait and hope. Let's put our trust in the scientists. Let's hope that resources from across the world will be available to ISRO to find an answer over what happened to Vikram if indeed we fail to wake the lander up. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. I mean, this man's images went viral and nobody's going to forget them anytime soon. ISRO Chief K. Sivan being comforted by the Prime Minister on an emotional day for him on Saturday are not going to be far from people's memory. From going to school barefoot to heading India's space program, that is the story of K. Sivan. It's a true story of hard work, grit, determination, and a never say die attitude. Take a look.
India has got a new icon, the chairman of ISRO, who was in tears when ISRO's ambitious moon lander Vikram lost contact with the mission center. In midst of this setback, the country got to know the inspiring story of Sivan, who has piloted many of India's key space projects. A humble farmer's son, Sivan would walk barefoot to a small government school and would work in his father's fields during his childhood. His village, Sarakakalvilai in Kanyakumari, is proud of his accomplishment. When niece Nisha recounts the stories she has heard of her Chitappa, she does it with enthusiasm.
சின்ன வயசுல ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டு இங்க இருந்து படிச்சவங்க தான். வீட்டு சூழல் கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமான இதுல தான் இருந்தாங்க அப்பவே நல்லா தாத்தா கூட எப்பவும் வேலைக்கெல்லாம் போய் எடுத்து அவங்க நல்லா படிச்சாங்க. கஷ்டப்பட்டு படிச்சாங்க. படிச்சதுக்கு ஏற்ப அவங்களுக்கு வேலை கிடைச்சி நல்ல வேலை பார்த்தாங்க. அப்புறம் எங்க வீட்டுக்கு வந்தாலும் சகஜமா எல்லாரும் கூட நல்லா ஜாலியா பேசுறது எடுக்கிறது எந்த ஒரு ஃபார்மாலிட்டி அப்படிலாம் ஒன்றும் கிடையாது.
Sivan's relatives also have fond memories to share.
7 மணி 8 மணிக்கெல்லாம் ஸ்கூலுக்கு வந்துடுவாங்க. அப்புறம் இந்த லைப்ரரியில் அவங்க வந்து படிக்கக்கூடிய நேரத்தில் மற்ற ஆட்கள்லாம் அண்ணன் படிச்சுட்டு இருக்காவா கொஞ்சம் கழிச்சு போகலான்னு சொல்லி அந்த கொஞ்சம் பொறுமையாக காத்திருந்து தான் லைப்ரரிக்குள்ளே போவாங்க. எப்பவும் போனாலும் லைப்ரரியில் எப்பவும் பேப்பர் படிச்சுட்டே இருப்பாங்க.
Today, Sivan's schoolmate look up to him with pride.
அவங்க வந்து எல்லாத்தையும் பேசுறதும் கூட அவர் அருமையாக தான் பேசிட்டு இருப்பாங்க. அவர் எப்போவுமே இந்த தொழில் ரீதியாட்டு அவங்களுக்கு மற்ற பிள்ளைகளும் இதை என்ன மாதிரி தான் வளர்ந்து ஆளாகி வரணும், படித்து முன்னேறி வரணும்.
படிப்பில் சரக்கல்களையும் சரி வல்லமர்களையும் சரி நல்ல ஃபஸ்ட்டாக இருப்பாங்க எப்பொழுதும் படிப்பில். அதுலேயும் கணிதத்தில் 100க்கு 100 இப்பவும் வாங்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க. படிப்புலையும் டாப் லெவலாக இருக்கனால அவங்க எங்கள் நான் மட்டும் இல்லை எல்லா இளைஞர்களுக்குமே அவங்க ஒரு ரோல் மாடல்.
The tears we saw on Saturday told a story of years of toil and dreams to a country used to worshipping sportsmen and film personalities. K. Sivan has shown the mirror. With Shalini Lobo, Bureau Report, India Today.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.